Follow me, please.
Young Frankenstein wasn't merely a comedy, it was a revival. A comedic masterpiece that parodied classic horror films, changed screwball comedy, and packaged it all in black and white. Yet, it faced constant challenges. The title barely survived, the studio despised the format, and one scene nearly got it rated R. These are 15 weird facts about Young Frankenstein you didn't know. And hidden behind the madness, a recognition by the Library of Congress. But for what exactly? So, sit back and let's rewind time. Number 1. The one scene that saved the screening almost got cut.
If you're blue and you don't know where to go to, why don't you go where fashion sits?
Mel Brooks was convinced that putting on the Ritz was a little too jarring. It felt too Broadway. But he wasn't about to let it go. Brooks argued with Gene Wilder, pleading and begging him to remove it. Yet, Wilder held his cool, believing in the moment. So, they filmed it, and after Brooks watched it for the first time, he was blown away, changing his mind, and even saying that it might just be the best scene in the movie, and eventually becoming comedic history. Fortunately, because the film itself almost didn't make it to a screening. Number 2. Filming something in black and white simply didn't work for the studio. But Mel Brooks insisted. He didn't just want to copy old Universal monster films. He wanted something unique. And black and white was going to give him this, he'd argue. The studio didn't want any of it, arguing, even sliding into a state of panic and telling Brooks that no one in the 1970s was willing to pay top dollar to see a black and white movie. More money was offered, and even bigger production was planned. The studio even went as far as showing him colorized previews. Brooks refused. He threatened to walk. So, the studio backed down under the single condition that it wasn't advertised in black and white. Finally, Brooks agreed, filming exactly how he envisioned it. And as it turned out, it was a masterpiece of gothic beauty and a timeless production that still resonates to this day. Well, aside from one or two lines that opened a whole other can of worms. Number 3. Yes, despite the control freak nature of Mel Brooks and the incredibly tight set he ran, he simply couldn't keep Marty Feldman and Gene Wilder under control. The two often whispered together, changing gags, tweaking a few lines, and even disrupting the timing. And when Brooks yelled, "Stick to the script," the two nodded and just changed it again. But when Feldman took it a little too far by even changing his entrance with a different accent, Brooks was livid. Until he got to watch the playback.
Dr. Frankenstein.
The result? A masterpiece that felt not just like comedy, but a surreal experience that came to life. Finally, Feldman and Wilder earned a little more space for creativity. Speaking of the hump, did anyone notice how it changed? Number 4. In the first scene, Igor's hump is located on the right side, but later it's on the left, and at one point it was completely gone, only to reappear later. Sounds confusing and like a little inconsistency, right? Well, no. This was Marty Feldman's inside joke. Without telling anyone in the crew, he shifted the hump every couple of seconds. And when Brooks finally noticed, he just broke out in complete laughter, telling the editors to keep it as it is. The gag later became a gem without any explanation.
I don't mean to embarrass you, but I'm a rather brilliant surgeon. Perhaps I could help you with that hump.
What hump?
Number 5. When the lab scenes came around, the filming crew had one big problem: the gear. Brooks didn't just want a parody, he wanted it to feel real, almost like stepping into an authentic 1930s horror film. But how could they make it authentic? Brooks had an idea. He tracked down Kenneth Strickfaden, the man responsible for building the original lab equipment for the 1931 classic Frankenstein. Strickfaden had it all: the arcs, switchboards, even the Tesla coils lying in a garage and completely covered in dust. With a little convincing, everything got shipped to the Young Frankenstein set, fitting the film like a glove, creating a true revival of the original film. With just a little extra humor from Cloris Leachman. Number 6. When Brooks met Cloris Leachman, he admired the cold, measured, witty, and somewhat blunt energy. Then she got the part and brought something different. It wasn't over the top, nor was it what Brooks had come to love. It was something else, stranger, quieter. But when she gave the character an unplaceable European accent, more Transylvania, it became dangerous. When she spoke, the crew cracked up. Gene Wilder was baffled, and Terry Garr even had to turn away. It made filming incredibly hard. So they made a choice, something never before seen in comedy. Instead of toning it down, they rolled with it, cutting out the laughter and creating one of the strangest and most hypnotic characters the film industry had seen at that time.
Would the doctor care for a brandy before retiring?
No. Thank you.
Some warm milk? Perhaps?
No, thank you very much. No thanks.
Ovaltine.
Nothing. Thank you.
And the horses, well, even they were startled by the name Frau Blucher. Number 7. Every time someone mentions the name Frau Blucher, the horses reared in fear, hooves in the air and ready to get out of here.
I am Frau Blucher.
The gag is one of the most easily noticeable in the whole film, but didn't just emanate from nothing. Brooks revealed later that the sound wasn't just for laughs. It was a memory from his childhood. A cold, hard, and intimidating sound that even Brooks feared. Yet, it became one of the longest-running gags of the film, hiding beneath it something more sinister. A fear, a memory, and an unhealed scar that simply never faded. Perhaps that's why Brooks never got a cameo for himself. Number 8. Mel Brooks is known for always having some sort of cameo in his films. First, there was Blazing Saddles. Then he played 3 different characters in Spaceballs. But in Young Frankenstein, Gene Wilder simply forbade it, even going as far as telling him that if he showed up in any sort of costume, the spell was broken. But Wilder couldn't entirely stop Brooks. Those with a keen sense of hearing can still hear the echoes of Brooks' voice as a howling wolf, screaming cat, and even the call of a train in the very distance. His face might not have appeared on screen, but Wilder couldn't stop the special effects, adding just a little more of himself to the production. And then there was namesake Gene Hackman, an Oscar-winning legend. Number 9. Fans all over the world were already familiar with the name Gene Hackman, an Oscar-winning actor, a star in the world of drama, but with absolutely no experience in the world of parody and screwball comedy. Yet, he accidentally ran into Wilder on a tennis court of sorts when the two started talking. Hackman wanted to do something different, a comedy of sorts. And Wilder had the perfect idea. He was cast as a blind hermit, pouring wine, breaking furniture, and even burning the crotch of Peter Boyle. The role became iconic and was one of the most memorable cameos in film history. It was a role that transcended the film, much like everything else that didn't have the advantage of special effects. Number 10. Young Frankenstein had an eerie and dark feeling to it. Thunderstorms, howling wolves, and even the sound of a screeching cat. But there weren't any digital sounds or special effect libraries to rely on. In need of a thunderstorm, they had to create it. Special lighting, a custom lighting board was built. But when all of these effects were turned on, they worked, perhaps a little too well. Pipes burst, lights shorted, and the hallway flooded to ankle depth, and everyone thought the lab scenes were to be delayed. But there wasn't enough time. Crews worked overtime, through the night, drying it all up. And the next day, filming continued as if nothing ever happened. It was controlled chaos at its best, even spilling over onto the screen if you look carefully. And then came one problem, a rating that nearly sunk it all. Number 11. Double entendres have for decades been part of Hollywood, and Young Frankenstein was filled with them to the brim. However, one such moment nearly changed the film from comedy to something a little more harsh, an R rating. The ratings board flagged it, finding it somewhat enticing and sexually suggestive, even suggesting the film had to have an adult rating. But Brooks argued his case, calling it musical satire, a joke. After 3 rounds of arguing, the film was given a PG rating, just a few words away from complete tragedy. before a mega commemorative award. Number 12. It's a rarity for something to enter the Library of Congress. Only the greats ever make it. And Young Frankenstein was never intended to be an Oscar-winning film. It was a simple parody, a hoax, a complete ripoff of the original 1931 film. But amid the filming, Brooks and Wilder did something right. They hit a sweet spot, resonating with fans and transforming the filming industry into something different, earning 2 Academy Award nominations, unfortunately losing both to The Towering Inferno. Yet, it was later recognized when, in 2003, the Library of Congress selected Young Frankenstein for preservation in the National Film Registry for its cultural, historical, and aesthetic significance, even inspiring a legendary rock band. Number 13.
Walk this way. This way.
When Igor handed Dr. Frankenstein a cane and said, "Walk this way," it was supposed to be a throwaway line. But Wilder limped off in the exact same way down the stairs, before stopping and realizing. The joke landed. Audiences loved it. But it didn't just stop there. A year later, Aerosmith released the song "Walk This Way," with fans immediately stating that it was inspired by the exact scene. The band never confirmed it, nor denied it, especially given the timing of the film and the song. It might be true, adding even more value and suggesting just how big a cultural impact the film had on the rest of the entertainment industry. But we haven't even mentioned Terry Garr. Number 14. The name Terry Garr never came up during the original cast selection. In fact, the choice for actors was already made, and with someone more dramatic, they believed it would anchor the character of Inga. But tensions flared behind the scenes. Disagreements popped up about the script, the tone, and more importantly, the direction. So, the role magically opened up again. Now there was a gap, and Gene Wilder knew how to fill it, so he recommended Terry Garr. She arrived, no fanfare, no rehearsal, and no audition, smashing the first attempt before anyone even explained the film. Inga was transformed from a punchline to a woman in on the joke, warm, playful, but a little bit comedic. She was immediately cast, and whatever they planned for the role initially was simply scrapped. Terry Garr became the role, not as a replacement, but as someone who transformed it into something iconic. But what happened to the monster's boots? Number 15. Everyone knows just how massive the monster's boots were. They were huge, uncomfortable, and heavy enough to throw anyone off balance. But following the shoot, Mel Brooks took them home, not as a souvenir like many thought, but as a statement. Yes, Brooks literally wore the boots to dinner parties, even struggling through cocktail parties with the rich and famous. When asked why, he smirked and spoke. "They make me feel taller and funnier." It wasn't just a prop, but something iconic that didn't just belong to the monster. It was part of the man who brought it all to life. And who are we to deny him for living his best life? Now, Young Frankenstein isn't the only film to transcend Hollywood. What William Shatner did almost destroyed Star Trek, but you can find out by watching it next.